guys may not be used to being coached and corrected, especially at the volume we do things. I think they will get there. If they don't, somebody else will be in their spot. That was Kirby Smart earlier this spring talking about the Georgia Bulldogs and what it's like to be a player there right now with so much transition on the offense. Well, on both sides of the ball at Georgia, but there's each year there's a significant influx of new players, and Kirby's talking about on the first day of spring ball about how it really felt like this was a very new team, but that they had gone through the numbers and it wasn't as much as they've had in the past. But it does feel that way more and more in college football. We knew Carson Beck was not coming back to Georgia, but that's just one example of guys that are gone now. I mean, you've got several first-round draft picks that are not on the team anymore, but this is really now about getting ready for 2025. So the last sentence there, if they won't, someone else will be in their spot. There's really no confusion here from Kirby and company, and there shouldn't be. I mean, look, when you're playing in college, like, this isn't rec ball. It's not church league. There's no one's feeling sorry for you. You're not trying to, quote, get experience. You've played, and you know what's going on. So either you're going to be there ready to go and not just ready to go, but be coachable, or you won't be. And, like, you have to consistently be willing and ready to be coached, or the next person is going to play. Okay? There's only 22 starting spots on offense and defense. And, if whoever the left tackle is not getting it done, they're going to get replaced. We've seen quarterbacks get replaced at Georgia. That's not just because of injury. So I think, for Kirby, the pressure is on now for the players, and it needs to be. If you can't survive the pressure of practice, then that doesn't mean you're a bad human being. It just means you probably shouldn't be starting. It doesn't mean that you won't be successful in life. It just means you probably shouldn't be starting right now. You might not be be able to go out there in a pressure situation. I don't know. I mean, if you cannot do it in practice, if you're not willing to be coached in practice, if you're not willing to adjust to a formula that has worked for Kirby for at this stage decades, plural, then this is the process by which things get weeded out. People get weeded out. You've got to do it the right way. You've got to accept and absorb the coaching. You've got to do all these things. And if you don't, you will be replaced. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's a completely legitimate way to be about things, because there's got to be some patience with younger players. But, at some stage during the process, they have to let go of this is going to sound, I might be putting this wrong. They have to let go of the learning and absorb the learning, and then you move on to just playing. And the less you think as an athlete, the more that you do what you're supposed to do. If you're thinking while you're playing a sport, that is almost always a problem. You should feel what you're supposed to be doing, okay? You should feel it. You should say, hey, this right, I can flow to this area, or my body just has done it so many times, I'm used to what I'm supposed to do right now. This is one of the things that happens in higher level sports. You should not be thinking. You should know what you're doing, and your body and I guess your mind should just flow to the space that it's supposed to be at. Make sure you're checking out our buddies at Red Zone. I got the shirt on right now. They're on Clayton Street. They're going to be there all spring. I mean, baseball is hot. Arguably the number one team in the country. And when you're in town for baseball, for tennis, I'm assuming for G-Day, whenever that gets officially announced, my suspicion that's going to be a 1 p.m. start. But whenever you're in town, make sure you're going by, seeing Scott and Mindy. It's an awesome store, a lot of unique stuff, a lot of stuff that, you're not going to see elsewhere. And it does not have the insanity of the Tate Center and the university's bookstore. Locally owned and have been partners of ours, friends of ours for years now. So check them out on Clayton. The hard process right now for Georgia is figuring out. So part of the problem here is you've got to give guys the ability to try to learn. In other words, you have to give them the ability to fail. But the failure cannot be constant. It has to be that they're absorbing, hey, your foot placement should be this. Your hands should be this. If we tell you, like in baseball terms, if the play's at first and you're throwing it to third, you can't do that a bunch of times. The play's at first. If your left foot, just for us, in basketball, the way that your foot was when you were defending, which foot was in front of the other, because you weren't square. Which foot was where on which side of the ball? Another basketball, you had to hedge. If you were a big guy, you might not know what that means. When someone's coming on a pick and roll, someone's screening, is the big man hedging or not? We always hedged. If you couldn't understand that and you couldn't get that, then that's on you after a while. It's not the coaches. You have to take the coaching. So again, the quote, guys may not be used to being coached and corrected, especially at the volume we do things. I think they will get it. I think they will get there. If they don't or won't, he says won't. If they won't, someone else will be in their spot completely. This is a business. Everybody there is getting paid. Every person on that field, the players, the coaches, they are getting paid. Period. And if you're not going to be able to do what you need to do, then you're not going to be out there. And I'm not going to feel sorry for you. That's something for you to have to worry about. It's got to be, if Gunnar Stockton consistently misses reads, if Gunnar Stockton is not, pivoting and turning the right way, sprinting back. Well, for us, it was about sprinting. When you were supposed to sprint, you got to sprint. You can't sort of do this. If it's about ball placement, hand placement on a ball fake, stuff like that. All these things matter. Where are your hands supposed to be when you are, on the offensive line? Defensive guys, do you have a secondary move? Are you listening? Are you eye contact with the coaches? There's no shortage. There's no shortage of stuff that you've got to do to be successful in athletics. But the good news for Georgia and all these schools is, if the guys are not getting the coaching, you can just go out and get another player. This isn't like in the past where you kind of, we're stuck with guys for 3 years or whatever. The transfer portal has made things difficult for coaches. It's not made it impossible for coaches. And in many ways, it's made things better because they can go out and adjust. They can't do it in the season. There's still value in coaching. And look, coaching's hard. You're telling someone else what to do. It's not you doing it. There's no value in Kirby going out there and doing it the right way. Kirby can't play. He's not permitted to play. His eligibility is up. He can't do it anymore. We don't need to see Kirby out there. You know what? I would be very curious to see that, 1 or 2 times. That's it. I don't need to see, I don't need to see that very much. It'd be like me trying to go out and dunk. Not going to happen. But look, the players have got to. I think he's right to ask that question. I think it's a legitimate question. Is he right to sound this warning to his players? Yeah. Yeah. Look, again, this is business. Everybody's making money. Kirby, Jerry Moorhead, the athletic department, generally speaking, probably almost a $2 million budget this year. $200 million, excuse me. Gunnar, I make money for everybody's. This is a business, and it's time to perform. And I don't think there's any shame in that. Hey, make sure you're joining our newsletter, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.